Hey, Coach.
How we doing?
Good, you?
Doing great. We are back. Really excited about this week's opponent. They've proven to be one of the best teams at home. Obviously, going to be a really unique environment. Um, really talented on offense and really on both sides of the ball. Got a really good front interior. That can create some issues. Wide receivers on the edge that can create some issues, and a quarterback that operates really well in their system. So, and they play well at home. So it's going to be a fun environment for our guys. I think they're amped up to travel and go play a good team.
We're going to go smack dab in the middle. Right there, Chris. We'll look the other way.
Thank you. Dan, could you just give your thoughts on the running game and what it was able to do on Saturday and what you thought of the performance after watching some film, and then also what you think they can accomplish against that Texas Tech defense?
Yeah, I think we have really talented running back room, and I think our O-line did a good job of moving bodies up front. But I think we saw a lot of things that we can do, even better. And I know that people might not see that from outside looking in, but we're about to play a real opponent, and the team that we played is going to be a good team in their league, but they're not going to be the level of team that we're going to play in the future. And right now, with again, like I just mentioned, Texas Tech has a really good interior on their defensive line. They have good edges, so that's going to be a good challenge for us, moving bodies up front. Our backs are certainly talented enough to do it, but we have to go in there with the right approach.
Second row left, Eric.
You mentioned tough environment, also the temperature down there. I'm wondering if there are any things you're going to do to kind of try to simulate the sound and also the heat.
Yeah, there's not a lot I can do for the heat. We're not going to make the guys wear parkas out to practice or anything like that. At the end of the day, good, right? Good. We want a tough environment. We want to go to a place that's going to be challenging. Like that's what's exciting about college football. When you get to go to a place where the fans are going to care. 6 p.m. I think they're going to be pretty amped up. That's exciting for us. That's the kind of environments we want to play in. Beyond us preparing, that's all we got to do.
Front right, left.
You guys had 74 offensive snaps on Saturday. That's pretty on par with what you guys had on average last year. Elsewhere in college football, there was some teams that had, in the 50s. Some coaches were bigger outspoken about the new clock rules that caused that. Did you see anything in the game that kind of, because of the new clock rules, that kind of impacted your coaching style or how you went about things?
Yeah, I just think us as a staff, we have a really, awareness of about when the clock rules change. We're really all dialed in on that. Our approach again, we were a really good team in the middle eight last year. That's somewhere we want to be good again. I think that's all about how you manage 2-minute situations at the end of halves and the beginning of the second half. So certainly we know that every possession matters, right? That's where it's really changed. And not that every possession didn't matter before, but it means more, right? You're going to get less possessions in offensive football right now in college. So you have to do more when you get those possessions. There's no waste plays.
Middle right, Jared.
Yeah, now that you had a chance to watch the film, I'm wondering what stood out to you about Mateo and kind of just his college debut.
Yeah, just that he can play at this level. He's he's a talented player. He wants to be good, right? He has a skill set. He's been well coached. In high school, that's carried over for him now. He has the body and the frame to become a really good player at this level, but he also has a lot of room for growth. He'll be the first one to tell you that. There were some plays that he wishes he had back from Saturday. I'm excited to see him continue to grow.
Front left, James.
And you guys have made Texas a lot bigger priority in recruiting. This is the start of 6 straight years of playing games against Big 12 opponents, a couple in Texas, one in Oklahoma. How much has this run of games played a factor in some of that strategy, if at all? And regardless, just the thoughts on your strategy in Texas and recruiting, in that part of the country.
Yeah, we recruit Texas because Texas has some of the best players in the nation, right? And wherever the best players are, that's where we're going to recruit. Really doesn't have anything to do with what games that we're going to play and who we're going to be playing. But the fact that there's direct flights from Texas, here to Eugene, the fact that there's great players in the state of Texas, we're always going to recruit where there's great players. So that's been the biggest piece there.
In the back, Matt.
You often say you have to review the film before you can talk about performances. And just, would you like what you see about your team on Saturday, and what do you hope carries over to this Saturday, and what do you hope to see improvement in, from week 1 to week 2?
Yeah, I love the competitiveness, the focus of our guys. We talked about what's a successful game look like. Not a lot of pre-snap, post-snap penalties. We did that. We didn't have penalties. We had a careless penalty on a hold, and we had a careless penalty on PBR. Those are 2 things that we got to fix. But walking out of the game clean from that standpoint, you love. I love the energy from our players on the sideline. A lot of things that we can fix, being better on movements from a defensive standpoint. I thought we tackled well in this game, but there were some missed tackles as well that we can do a better job of wrapping up. I think getting the ball to our outside arm on offense so we can work stiff arm opportunities to break the ball, to move the ball down the field. Something we want to focus on, chasing the ball, better with our offensive line and our skill players when they don't have the ball in their hands. Something we want to look to improve. We want to be able to connect on some of those shots that we missed. We still move the ball well, but you avoid some of those third and longs that we hit and had success on when you're able to move the ball on those shots earlier in the series.
Second row on the left, Eric.
Just curious on what challenges you see on film that Tech provides both on offense and on defense.
Yeah, their tempo. I mean, on offense, they're a team that snaps as many snaps as anybody in college football. You're going to see they're going to be able to go really fast, really quick. They line up in a lot more stacks and bunches than any other team in college football, so you have to be sound in how you handle those rules. I think they had the most snaps and bunch alignments this past week of any other team in college football. Offensively, that's a big piece of it. They really have the ability to kind of do two different offenses where they are wide open and then they get a tight end in the core and can create some run game issues and some pass game issues. They do a great job of, attacking down the field vertically, but they set that up with the way that they, do screens and like quick passes, some quick games. So I think that's, a piece that shows up. Defensively, they're a pressure team. You're going to see a lot of pressures from them. They find ways to pressure in unique ways. And they do a good job of running the ball. They play with great effort. Effort shows up all over the film on special teams. I think that's somewhere that they've been really good. They're aggressive in the return game. They're going to try to bring the ball out, right? And they've been able to create some explosive returns doing that.
Front right, Zach.
Well, Stein's first real game calling the offense here, it looked like he called it from the field the whole time. But operationally, how do you think that went with him down on the sideline rather than up in the booth?
Yeah, Will's a pro. I thought the whole offensive staff did a good job of handling and managing, moments within the game, how they called it. It really mimics what we already do in practice, but I thought he did a really good job. I thought our whole offensive staff did a good job of the communication and really the same thing, from a defensive standpoint. Communication was good on Saturday.
Front left, James.
How much of it all do the various connections that you guys have with members of their staff help in the preparation stages in terms of Carlos having worked with their OC and their O-line coach and 12 defensive players having played for DeRuyter and Yates and knowing their system? Just how much of it all does that help in preparation?
Yeah, I think there's a comfortability basically with both schemes, them doing what they do and, understanding what they do. I don't think there's a lot of secrets in college football. I mean, the film is the resume, and that's what you really have to build off of. Every team changes, and even though like Coach Drew, for example, was here before, there's things that he's doing differently now than what he did when he was here. So I expect to see something different. I think they kept a lot of their cards up their sleeve, in game one. And I think we'll see some unique pieces. They are really challenging from all the different sets they can present on offense. We have to be able to adjust really well on that. And then defensively, like I said, they can bring pressure really from anywhere. So we have to be prepared for that.
In the back, Matt.
You have some teammates that play with Tyler Shuck. I'm just curious. There's some familiarity there, but just from your perspective of watching him, preparing for him, what stands out about him from as a senior? I think he's like a fifth-year senior now.
Well, I mean, first thing, he's a winner, right? The games he started last year, they won. I think that he's had a lot of success in that system. They've learned how to use his talents well. Probably doesn't get enough credit as a runner. He can actually take off and, make some plays with his feet. He did that some this past game. For them, he, really distributes the ball well and understands their system. This system requires the quarterback to be able to get him into the right checks, make the adjustments, communicate with the wideouts and the backs of what's actually going on, and he does a good job of that.
Eric, second row on the left.
They have a lot of size on the outside at wide receiver, and I think some fast guys in the slot too. Just their receiving core, the challenges they present.
Yeah, they're certainly a bigger unit. They're some of the best when it comes to catching the ball with a guy near or on you. They do a good job of attacking the ball. You see that a lot on their film. I think that's going to be quite the challenge for us. And the variety of ways they get the ball to their wideouts is unique.
Front left, James.
Expanding on that, Dan, specifically for Bradley 9, he was their vertical threat in a big way last year, and it's a big part of their offense, like you talked about. What is it about him specifically that makes him such a threat in that way? And they also have a 6'9" tight end. How do you try to simulate that in practice?
Yeah, it's hard to simulate in practice. We don't have anybody on our roster that's 6'9" right now that can play tight end. But ultimately, what Bradley has a huge catch radius. It catches the ball well in traffic. They do a good job of finding ways to get those guys open where you don't have bodies on a body. We have to go work contested catches right now in practice. We got to go get opportunities to make plays on the ball in practice. So we're certainly going to try to simulate that this week.
Front right, Zach.
Looking at snap counts, there were about 5 offensive linemen that really played together. Mostly, as you could call them starters. You may not want to call them starters, but how do you feel there was cohesion and continuity with that group up front?
I think it was really good at times. I think there was definitely some moments of improvement too. But overall, I think we got multiple guys that can play, and we're going to continue to find ways as guys grow and become game ready. We're going to find ways to use more guys there.
In the back, Matt.
A lot of your players talked about Poncho's just athleticism during fall camp and how special he was for a freshman. What did you like about him through fall camp? And because I think he was the first lineman to come off the bench into the game. Just what did you like about him during fall camp and how you think he performed?
Well, my favorite thing about Poncho is his physicality. He's a physical player. He's got heavy hands. He can move people up front. He's actually a really intelligent, smart player. He's been able to pick up what we do relatively quick. And, I think having his big brother on the team is a guy that's pushing him as well. If a coach can't say it, his brother's going to let him know what it needs to look like. And I love the combination of those two guys on our team.
Center on the left, Eric.
Want to see if there's an update on Evan, Justin, and Nishad.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about any injury guys. Whoever we're able to roll in there with at Texas Tech, we'll be able to roll in there with. Feel good about progress with those guys.
James.
Offensively, will Chris Hudson be able to go?
I'm going to talk about anybody that didn't play this past week. If they didn't play this last week, I'm not going to talk about them.
Tyler had 4 passes batted down this past weekend, and Texas Tech's coaching staff was talking about that today, saying that 2 of them were on him, 2 were elsewhere. In looking at that, are there things there that you feel like you guys might be able to take advantage of by way of size on the line of scrimmage, or just a reminder to you always want to get hands up from D linemen? I get that, but the quarterback with passes batted down, does it emphasize that much more?
Yeah, I just think in general, when you can impact the quarterback, everybody thinks of sacks immediately, and that's not the only way you can impact in the passing game, right? It's a lot easier to cover when you don't have to because the ball got batted. So as much as we can get our hands up, it certainly matters, especially with a team that gets the ball out quick, which these guys do. So that's something we'll definitely emphasize.
Matt in the back.
Earlier, you referenced they ran the most bunch sets at receiver in the country last week. Why is that an interesting stat? Like, what's the stresses it puts on you guys defensively or any defense? Yeah,
it just requires communication. You have to figure out how you're going to match patterns as they come out, right? And they don't always come out the same direction, right? So, they do a good job of changing that up. Luckily for us, I think we do a good job of matching it. So if we do a good job of matching it this week and having some variables that you can play to those sets, if you don't always play them the same way, I think that gives you a chance to be successful.
Time for 2 more. Right middle, Jared.
Omarion's a guy we haven't really asked you about this fall, but obviously gets his first start. What did you see him do kind of the last couple of weeks during that?
Yeah, he prepares every single day as a guy that's going to go out there and be on the field. And when his opportunity comes, he does a great job of that. He plays with physicality. He's tough. He's learnable. He's easily coached, and he's hungry. So when his opportunity came, he did a good job. And I think he'll continue to get more opportunities because he does what he's coached to do.
Last question, James, here on the left.
Joey McGuire was really self-critical today, talking about their defense, saying he thought that their pass rush lanes against Wyoming were absolutely horrible, in his words. When you know that that's something that he and emphasizing to their guys, what do you want to get across to your O-line, but beyond what they see on tape, when they're calling it out publicly as they have and they're comfortable doing that, what do you want to get across to your O-line when they're going to be emphasizing that weakness this week?
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're going to continue to focus on us, right? And we know that they have skill. We know they have talent at those positions, up front in particular. So we're going to continue to focus on what do we need to do to be able to handle that well. We're not going to be at their practice. We're not going to see what they're doing. I'm sure they'll want to dial up pressure just like we will, right? So they're going to want to get better up front, so will we. And that's going to be our focus as us.
Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate
Appreciate your time.